Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. You are in for a treat today. Today, I am here with Maiysha Clairborne, who I had the great privilege of getting to know and getting to know more and more moving forward as we shared the 2026 Asheville TEDx experience. And I say experience because it was a whole ass journey.
Absolutely.
So, it was a beautiful bonding experience around purpose, passion, becoming, and it's just really fun to bring these people that I just have so much space in my heart for now onto this. So, welcome.
Thank you so much, Megan. It's such a pleasure to be with you in the space, and I'm excited to have this conversation.
Yeah, and we're going to go ahead and just hold the intention of expanding time because we could
Mhm.
talk about the stuff that lights us up for
Mhm.
hours, but we are going to condense it for your, hopefully, for your attention span and for our schedule. So let's go. So I want to introduce Maiysha on the more formal level first because it's ridiculously impressive. I
Oh.
read bios like yours and I'm like, I should take a class. I don't know. So I'm going to share that and then I'm going to invite Maiysha to share just the human that's showing up today because we're always bothing when it comes to our purpose. Dr. Maiysha Clairborne is an integrative physician, consultant, coach, and trainer, and the founder of the Mind Remapping Company. She leads leaders and organizations in building psychologically safe, trauma informed, and trust centered cultures using her REMAP framework. Blending neuroscience, psychology, emotional intelligence, and trauma informed communication, she transforms insight into application, guiding leaders and teams through burnout, conflict, communication breakdowns, and cultural repair. Her impact spans from corporations, hospitals, and major healthcare systems to educators and school administration. A two-time TEDx Asheville speaker, she hosts the podcast Beliefs, Behaviors, Communication, and the Brain, and is the author of The Wellness Blueprint and co-author of Conscious Anti-Racism. Is that it?
I mean, I'm a mommy, I'm a gardener. Yeah, I love to dance. I'm a yogi. There's some other things in there too.
I love it. I love it. Well, and just a little tidbit, you gave me your birth information so I could pull up your human design chart. And
Mhm.
I know you know some about this, but for those listening,
Mhm.
what you just said and what I just said is the most manifesting generator
Mm.
thing ever. Just that multi-potentialite kind of
Mhm. Mhm.
person who has their finger in lots of different interests, hobbies, learning.
Mhm.
And that's where you get to thrive when you have full permission to go where your energy wants to go. So I love that.
I love that. It's interesting. I can't wait to hear a little bit more about what you've discovered in the human design,
Yeah.
because it's been a while since I've really read mine, and I don't really understand it like you understand it. So I'm excited about that. But it's true. I mean, the bio is the work that I do, but who I am is someone who I love to dance. Salsa. We talked about salsa dancing. I practice martial arts with my son, my 11 and a half year old, who is incredibly emotionally intelligent. Sometimes he's holding me to account.
Yep.
He
Like
is
kids do.
oh yeah, my biggest teacher, my biggest coach, my biggest cheerleader.
Yeah.
I recently got into this gardening thing. I'm determined to be an urban homesteader.
Okay.
It's been very interesting. Very interesting. But I got some stuff growing, so I'm excited about that. I got some leaves and some peppers and some, tomatoes growing. I've been a yogi for 20 years next year, 20 years Ashtangi. And that is where I have come into myself, where I have learned to be with the discomfort of well, there's just discomfort of life sometimes,
Yeah.
where I've learned to be in the messy middle, where I've learned to breathe, bring a lot of what I do on the mat into my work and into my life on a day-to-day basis. And so,
Yeah.
that is, so I'm a writer, I'm a poet. I actually don't put this on my bio, but I do have two poetry books that I've written.
Oh, goodness.
Yep, used to,
Holding out on us.
spoken word artist, all the things. I sing, I'm a second soprano, you know. So
Yeah.
yeah, just a woman a person who loves um, being in many spaces, but really the arts and creativity. And I just use it in many different ways and a
Yeah.
healer to the core.
Yeah, definitely. And I think for anyone who's watching this on YouTube,
Mhm.
they will see, sense, and feel the radiance that comes from somebody with your design living freely into your interests. Like
Mhm.
it feels very sparkly. I've said for a long time, manifesting generators that are authentically on their path, they feel very sparkly and shimmery, and
Mhm.
there's a magic to being in their aura, in their
Mhm.
energy. So I definitely feel that. And you and I bonded pretty quickly. We didn't
Yeah.
really know why, but I
Yeah.
think I feel the whole person that you bring to
Mhm.
everything you do. And those are the people that I look for. The
Mhm.
holy both and kind of like
Mhm.
on
Mhm.
TEDx day when I was so excited that I got to go after there was like a hip hop dance group.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I was there dancing in the wings, having my little joy fest. And you looked at
Yeah.
me and you were like, I mean, that that look doesn't really match that movement. And it was just me being in my authentic
Mhm. Mhm.
both andness, right?
Mhm.
So those are my people. And we've just been unpacking why we knew that we were
Yeah.
sort of sisters from another lifetime,
Mhm.
and more to
Mhm.
come. But I want to share one of the things you put on your podcast guest reflection document,
Mhm. Mhm.
because I think it really speaks to the core of your work and the core of mine that is going to run through this conversation.
Mhm.
And the question is, how would you describe your work? And you said, I'm a healer at my core, and right now my focus is on healing human connection. My
Yeah.
gift is helping people find their words and understand one another. And then later you said, what feels most alive, doing our inner work so that we don't keep passing down the mess to future generations, breaking
Mhm.
behavioral cycles, dismantling old and inherited conversations that we take everywhere with us. So that deep relational conscious restructuring of how we show up in our ecosystems of life.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, we walk around not realizing all of the stuff that's in front of us that we present. It would look invisible, but it would feel very present, right? When we walk into the room, the way we communicate, our nonverbal language, sometimes just the energy with which we present ourselves. And all of that is connected to what's going on in our brains,
Mhm.
what's in our past that we have not yet completely resolved. And we bring that to our parenting, we bring it to our relationships, we bring it to our workplaces. And people walk around thinking like they're just bringing themselves and, like in the moment, but they're bringing all of their past with them.
Yeah. I worked with an energy healer one time, and she described it really beautifully. She said it's like there's a string of bells
Mhm.
reaching out from you, and you think it's just you, like the
Mhm.
bell that is you. But every time you move, you're kind of jiggling all of those
Mhm.
bells, all of those energies that came
Mhm.
before you, your
Mhm.
ancestors, the events in your own life that
Mhm.
weren't fully metabolized.
Yep.
And you and I totally nerd out about the neurology of
Yeah.
that and the how to work with that so that we can have capacity to do it differently rather than just ringing the same damn bells all the time.
That part. And I think a lot of times, I think there are two camps of people. There are two, I mean, it's more than two camps, but the two that come to mind are people who are just sort of oblivious of it.
I've envied
And
at times in my life I have been very envious of that. Like, why can't I just be somebody who's good at avoiding? That would be kind of easier
listen,
sometimes. I'm not
I
built like that.
I myself have had that same thought. Like, ignorance truly is bliss, right? Because once you take what is it, the red pill, the blue pill, I can never remember which one. But once you take that reality pill and you can see it all, then there's something to deal with. And I think there's another set of people who are just afraid. Like they sense and know and feel something's there, but like they're so afraid that if they start digging, that it'll be an endless abyss of pain and suffering.
Pandora's
And
box, right?
right, Pandora's box. And like we ain't got time for that because we got to raise a family, we got to make money, we got to put food on the table, we got a job to do, so like I think that that's one of the things that stops people from really looking at how their past is affecting their future. Right.
Yeah. And the good, bad news for everyone listening is we're always doing both.
Right.
Whether we are aware of it or not, we are
Mm-hmm.
always bringing some aspect of our past, those
Mm-hmm.
templates, those
Mm-hmm.
patterns that are unconscious, and we're always creating ripples forward
That's
of
right.
those even if you don't say anything and have an interaction, that energy is felt by
Mm-hmm.
people and creates
Mm-hmm.
ripples. So I think most of the time I move feeling pretty excited about that. Like, oh my gosh, I'm an alchemist. I'm like
Mm-hmm.
transmuting this past stuff into something cool for the future. And then other times I just feel wildly overwhelmed. So I want to
Yeah.
name that for people that
Yeah.
it's often, I think in growth conversations, often it can be a little bypassy. Like,
Mm-hmm.
let's just do the work. We do the work. We do the work and with a smile on
Mm-hmm.
our face. But it goes back and forth
Oh
between,
yeah, absolutely.
and
Yeah.
some days my nervous system is just like on it. And other
Mm-hmm.
days life has given me a bit of a pylon of something and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I just want to tap out. This is too
Mm-hmm.
much. So can
Absolutely.
you speak to that? Because I know with your medical background, I mean, you have trained in all of the things. And what would you say to somebody who is saying, I'm just too overwhelmed by even going there?
Yeah,
What'd be the
yeah.
first thing you would share with that person?
Well, so I would before I do that, I want to just name something else. I love that you named like this piece of we're always doing both and right, like creating from the past and then rippling to the future. But I also want to just name that it's not all bad, right? Sometimes we
No.
we all talk, we always a lot of times we talk about what we're bringing from the past that's negative. But
Yeah,
what I also want to make sure the audience gets is that some of the stuff you're bringing from the past is actually very good. Some of the
totally.
values that you're holding on to. And so the benefit of getting aware of that is that you can be more intentional about the good things that you're bringing,
Yeah.
right? Like one of the things I recognize, I'm so busy doing work to dismantle like old negative conversations that at some point I realized, but you know what? There are some values that I really want to keep. There
Mhm.
are some of my values from my mom, my dad, for just like old school being Gen X, ancestral stuff that
Yeah.
I learned that I want to tweak a little bit, but I want to keep these values because they make me a really good mom, you
Yeah.
know?
It's like
And
weeding the garden, right?
it
Like
is
you're pulling the weeds so that the things you want to grow can grow.
right. And even the weeds, I read this in a garden group that even the weeds are oftentimes medicinal. We just don't recognize them.
Ooh, metaphor for days.
Listen,
I mean, come on, because they are.
listen, they
They're
are.
there to show us what wants to be healed or
That's right.
loved or
That's right.
whatever.
That's
Yeah.
right. And so coming back to your question, when it's I think what I would share is that you don't have to do it all at once, number one, right? And it's okay to feel overwhelmed. Like it's okay, like to give yourself permission to name, oh, this is a lot. And then the question is, what can you do?
Mhm.
Also, don't do it alone.
Yeah,
I
no.
am a huge proponent because I think a lot of times when people think about digging into and doing this work, it's like they feel like it's like maybe a self reflection or something they have to take on their own.
No.
But when you have a guide, in whatever capacity that is, that's let me just frame trained at least. trained in the work, because
Yeah.
not trained can equal harmful, right? So like someone like yourself or myself that's trained in that work, right? In the different ways that we're trained. When you're walking with someone and you feel too tired to hold yourself up, then you have someone that can hold that space for you, with you, right? Share that space. And so I think for the person who's feeling overwhelmed, it is acknowledgement. What is the next right thing I can do? What is the next right thing? One thing. That's it. Who is the next right person that I can reach out to that could support me? And
Mhm.
then only do what you can do and stop. Give yourself lots of breaks,
Yeah.
right? Like you said, some days, like you said earlier, some days, like last week was one of those weeks where I had all the plans to do all the things, and I didn't realize it because my moon app is not
Oh, the
is
Scorpio full moon came for you.
right. And so I didn't realize it. I was like, why am I so
Yeah.
tired?
Same.
I had like a really like bussing Wednesday. I was like, woo. And
Yep.
then Thursday came, I was like, I don't have much on my schedule. That was like, oh, but I'm so tired. I'm
Uh-huh.
so tired. And Thursday, Friday, even Saturday. And then Saturday, I was in the garden all day
Oh, so
for
good.
like 3, 4 hours. And
Yeah.
then it was just, oh, here I am. Today I woke up and I realized, oh, I feel energized again. But you
Yeah.
have to give yourself permission to be that way.
Yeah. I've really loved that you speak to you framed it as a guide and a support. And
Mhm,
something that I think is so important for people to just be conscious of is
mhm.
we live in a culture that prizes independence and goes alone.
Mm,
That is a cultural story that we have layered on like 5 feet thick over us.
yes.
But the
Mhm,
fact is, the wounds and tender spots within us that we carry, parts, whatever,
mhm.
um, were formed relationally,
Right.
formed in a vacuum.
That part.
So the good bad news is that they are most effectively healed in
Mhm.
relationship
That's right.
because and I try, I mean, believe me, I tried to heal that shit on my own for a lot of my early journey. I tried.
Mhm,
That was
mhm,
a lot of the family values I grew
mhm,
up on,
mhm,
and I was missing the alchemy that was
mhm,
required to actually like metabolize it all in a way
mhm,
that was of service. So it naturally deshames things when we're unpacking this stuff in
mhm.
relationship or community.
Yes.
Part of what I mentioned in my TEDx was about just the calming
Yeah.
nervous system effect of
Mhm,
healthy relationships. Like it gives us
mhm,
access to things within
mhm.
us when we feel safe.
Yeah.
So I really love that you speak to that because there's a lot of very intentional, maybe type A folks
Mhm,
who are
mhm.
kind of beating themselves up about not
Yeah.
being able to be somewhere different, but they're trying to go somewhere different in the same way that kept them stuck in what hurts, I think, a lot of times.
Listen, I was one of those people. I mean, like
Yeah.
when I tell you, just from a career, just career alone. I mean, we could talk career, relationships, but as a physician who took a very different path than most of my colleagues, and that had it had ripple effects, right? Particularly financial ripple effects.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how many times I woke up like, why could I not just go get a regular job? Like
Maiysha, I have cried in the shower with that exact thought more times than, I mean, for anybody listening who's had those
yes,
moments, like, why can't I just have a damn job
a
like the
regular
rest of
job.
them?
I could be making multiple six figures. I could have paid off my student loans. I wouldn't be in so much debt. I like, just I have been through like some near food insecurity,
Yeah.
like housing insecurity stuff
Yeah.
as a physician.
Oh,
And
yeah. You got the credentials.
the level of shame
Yeah.
that comes with having gone to school for 8 years and then doing another 4 years of training only to come out and be struggling to the
Yeah.
point where you don't know when your next mortgage payment and where it's going to come from or where the gas in your car is going to come from, the level of shame. So just to bring that as to normalize like that happens to it don't matter what level you're on,
Yeah.
that stuff can happen,
Yep.
you know.
And I think this is really beautiful. This isn't where I expected our conversation to go, but I can feel the medicine that it is for many of the people that I know are in my audience. The
Mm-hmm.
living in full integrity, the
Mm-hmm.
best of our ability, right? To our
Mm-hmm.
purpose and
Mm-hmm.
our path
Mm-hmm.
often requires that we reckon with stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's wanting to change the world and say that is one thing, but to live it and to say,
Mm-hmm.
no, I'm building something different.
Mm-hmm.
I have a different vision and y'all may not get it yet, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna stay the course because I know the world needs it, or I know my
Yeah.
soul. This is
Yeah.
the path for it. And I just think there's a lot of messaging out there that says if you're on the right path, life will be easy.
No.
And that is shame inducing. And
Yep.
and it's not to say it needs to be hard all the time. I'm not a proponent of that either, but
Right.
it requires staying curious and receptive to support. And for me, spiritually connected. Like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, like
Absolutely.
I'm doing it. You
Yeah.
with me? Kind of a
Yeah.
feeling. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And to your point around the, like the relationships and the community, I think like for me being in this world of this shame spiral of where I should be, that kept me isolated. But the moment that I chose to speak what was happening, like in my brain and in my soul, then community could come around and say, hey, no, you are on path and we got you. And also like when you're on path and you have community will not listen to you as anyone other than who you say you are, right? So if you're a leader in the health field, or if you're a healer, then they're only listening to you as healer. Not that they don't acknowledge your humanity, but they're holding you to healer. Like that's what you say you are. We got you, and that's where we moving. You can lean when you need to lean. You can cry when you need to cry, but God damn it, you a healer, and that's how we see you, and we will see that for you until you can see that for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's a really generous contribution when
Yeah.
we lead with something that is an identity that perhaps makes people feel like we've got all our shit figured out. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
a generous offering when we say, and here's a silver platter with my humanity,
Mm-hmm.
so that there's a more well-rounded relationship formed. And fun fact, back to your design, you and I have the same profile lines, the 6'2"
Mm-hmm.
profile lines, and the
Mm-hmm.
sixth line is the embodied role model. We literally have to fuck around to find out for the first like 30 to 40-ish years of our life. We have to try shit on and then leave
Yeah.
it and
Oh.
maybe do some relationships
Oof.
and figure some
Mm-hmm.
things out and do some career paths. And you and I both have, like we've got degrees we're not fully using. We've got,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I'm sure relationship learnings that
Mm-hmm.
have been alchemized. But then as we get close to 50, the idea is, and everyone is unique, but the idea is we are more integrated in those lessons and people feel that sort of coming off of us. And our
Mm-hmm.
greatest medicine is to show up and just be the
Mm-hmm.
embodiment of those lessons. And everything we do is actually secondary. Not that it doesn't matter, but there's something really beautiful, I think, about realizing that like all that pressure was forming the diamond or all that grit was forming the preciousness of the pearl. And that's very sixth line of kind of our paths. And
Yeah.
it's really hard to have faith in those times when we're having to like for me similar to what you said, it's been like I'm doing my work. I'm saying yes to the opportunities. Why isn't life taking care of me?
Mm-hmm.
And I have reckoned with scarcity and money. And guess who? That
Mm.
didn't just belong to me.
Yes.
That is from a long line. And
Speak.
and I'm at this time having conversations with my mom who's in her mid 70s who now is able to say, I'm so proud of
Mhm.
you doing this work. As
Mhm.
somebody, I mean, my family did not understand me. They did not get it. That like I felt like a failure because they all had regular JOBSs, you know?
Mhm. Mhm.
And so there's this beautiful, I'm bringing it back to our ancestral and generational thing. Like
Yeah.
my son is not going to carry that in the same way
Mhm.
that I inherited it.
Mhm.
And my mom is having something healed within her
Mhm.
as she watches her daughter live her purpose instead of making scarcity-based decisions.
Yeah.
And while sure, a steady paycheck and you know, like a whatever, the tax forms where you know you're going to get the same amount to budget every month sounds
Mhm.
cool sometimes, that sounds magical. Be able to
Mhm.
like it's so much bigger than
Mhm.
the number.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. We definitely have very, very similar life paths, and
Mhm.
so
I mean,
I
truly, like
can
sisters
see
from another lifetime. I think there's some.
we definitely are. Like as you're talking, I was like, "Ooh!" Like same conversations you have with your mom, the same conversations I've recently had with my mom. I've been like rewriting my money story and like doing the research, having conversations with my dad. Like my mom was the OG entrepreneur in my life, right? She's the original entrepreneur. My dad was the steady, steady ready, had a job for how many years, did all the investing. So, I was like aware of I thank my dad for that. Like I was aware of the investing mindset, but I never really, because of the path, I didn't think. I now know that I probably could have had I known that just like, $5 a month or $5 a week could like, like I didn't know that. But also I have my mom who was like spend, 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 spend. When you get it, you spend it. When you get it, you spend it. So she had bad spending habits, which I got to picked up too. So your girl had to get a budget, but like just scarcity conversations. And just over the last, you talk about faith, right? I have had definitely to develop a new and elevated sense of faith. Like I call it the faith walk, and bringing it right back to community. I have a good girlfriend of mine who is very active, very like leader in the church, and I don't go to church, by the way. I have a direct spiritual connection with who I call him HP, higher power.
I like it.
So I got a very deep spiritual connection with HP. But my friend, she would she would say to me, um, let me hold your faith for you, or something like that, right? Like when you're faltering in your faith, borrow mine, borrow my faith,
Yep.
right? And so I would borrow her faith until I could develop my own faith walk.
Yep.
And so now we have this thing where she's going through things, and I'm like, listen, she's big on the faith walk. I'm like, now I got enough. Now you can borrow some of my faith, right?
Uh,
Yeah.
that's a really beautiful example of how community is energetic far more than we realize. I
Mm-hmm.
similarly was having a conversation with a friend that's on the cusp of some brave transitions in her
Mm-hmm.
life. And I said, I know it doesn't make your experience different, but I'm going to say from out here, it seems not only wildly possible,
Mm-hmm.
but imminent. And I can
Mm-hmm.
see, sense, and feel the support around it. Like
Mm-hmm.
it, all of life is just waiting for you to take this brave step. And
Mm-hmm.
I can hold that while you're in the scared part. And I think
Yes.
just that, and that's what we do with our clients, right? Like in
Mm-hmm.
grad school, I remember one of my favorite professors said, you just hold the hope for them until they can pick it up.
Mm.
And it's not codependent. It's like
Yeah.
we just need to feel that sense that somebody
Mm-hmm.
has trust because that registers in
Mm-hmm.
that deeply unconscious embodied way. Just
Yeah.
like if we're looking at somebody and think they're a hot mess of brokenness, they will feel it.
Because of
So
them mirror neurons, girl. Those
I
mirror
know.
neurons, those are real. And when somebody is holding that space, I love that you said that. You just gave a new language to what I was experiencing. It's like when someone like, so if you're borrowing faith, for example, you like just the fact that someone else could see and could have that faith. And like you said, you're with your friend, you could see the vision, you can see it. And my friend would always tell me, I feel it. We are on the brink. I feel it. It's happening. I can see it. And just that. It's like those mirror neurons, they pick it up.
Yep. And they also pick up if it's bullshit. Like I think
Absolutely.
if somebody was like, "No, it's totally fine, you're good." And inside they're like, "Oh shit." That also registers. So keeping it real
That's
matters.
right. That's right.
And being able to say, "Wow, I can feel how scary this must be," is a
Mhm.
better option
Mhm.
if you can't hold the hope and the faith, right?
That's
Because
right.
then they're not having to tease out like, "Why does it feel like she's thinking this, but she's saying this?" and all that mess. But yeah,
Yes.
the just the being around people that see your highest potential and expression, that's, something I keep. It's part of my spiritual practice, it's part of my healing practice is assessing my relationships, and are they
Mhm.
serving where I'm going, or are they confirming where I've been?
Yeah.
And there's a natural kind of shedding, culling reflection, I think, in life that often maybe isn't talked about because there's this whole linear idea of like you
Mhm.
stay the course with what matters. But all of these things matter and they come down to relationship.
Absolutely. And I think it's important for us to recognize and discern the kinds of relationships that serve us and the kind of relationships that don't. But like in a sense that I think I think a lot differently about relationships than I used to. It used to just be like a little bit of binary, black and white, like you're in my life or you're not. And
Mhm.
what I realized is that when you have discernment, you can know who is there for what, right? You
Totally.
can know who you can trust for what things. Like, with I talk about in the TEDx talk, like my relationship with my mom and how where we were and where we are now and the level of the amount of repair that we've done. And there is still I still know what I can say to my mom and what I can't. I still know what I can share in my heart and what I can't. With similarly with my father, I mean, we've had our moments. I know what he's good for in terms of like what I need. And so when you're seeking that kind of support, you have to discover, uncover, explore, and discern
Yeah.
who are the people in your life that you can pour this aspect of your heart to, pour all of your heart to, ask for honest feedback, or if you just need a cheerleader. Sometimes you just need that person that's like rah rah, you can do anything. And if you know that's what you need, you call that person.
Yeah. And I think reminding ourselves over and over again that we are changeable
Yeah.
beings. And I'm very visual. So I see it almost like a bullseye design or like a solar system. And
Mm-hmm.
depending on where we are or what we're wanting or needing for our growth and healing, we might need to pull somebody closer or give a little bit more space or, but giving ourselves permission to be more fluid and flexible in our relational field than, well, I said they were this, so they've got to stay this.
Right.
Or I said we repaired, so that means we're all in and everything is great. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's an interesting, we don't tend to love gray area.
Gray area is hard.
And it's a nervous system capacity to build
Yes.
because fear and control love a binary. Look at our
Mm-hmm.
world.
Mm-hmm. And I think it takes risk to explore the gray, right? Like you're coming out of the black or you're coming out of the white and you're stepping into something that's not quite either. To take that step into the gray, it takes risk and it takes feeling the discomfort and moving in spite of that discomfort. It takes courage.
Totally. And courage is not something you have or you don't. It's something you practice
That's right. That's
over
right.
and over again. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
It's a choice. It's like going to the gym. I'm going to build this muscle. It might hurt for a minute. It might be uncomfy. I might be sore, but I want to be stronger.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, what is it that you wish people knew or saw, let's say within themselves, that you think would absolutely transform what's possible for them?
Oh man, knew or saw within in themselves. It's a challenging question because I think for each individual it might be different.
Yeah.
I think that if I were to say if I were to boil it down, is I wish people recognize that they are not alone.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, that's universal.
Yeah, it is. I think that often, I mean, because I think you brought this point in earlier, like this independence conversation is very thick and piled on. And it's married to I have to do it all by myself,
Yeah.
right? I have to, or I can't tell anyone. I grew up in a house where what goes on in the house stays in the house, right? And so there are like branches of that conversation that can really make us feel like we're the only ones experiencing what we're experiencing, and it's all bad. Right? It's all bad. And so I think that to recognize that we're not alone, and also that even when we think we don't have the capacity, it's there. It's there. It's just a matter of, I believe, finding the right people support systems
Mhm.
so that you so that you can lean when you need to lean. I
Yeah.
think that's really what it is.
Yeah. I love that. And I think that you are never alone is, you could look at that in so many ways. You are never alone in actually, there are people around
Mhm.
most of the time, but there's also never alone. Like, we are nature. We are part
Mhm.
of nature. We are part of like the quantum field. We like, there's all
Mhm.
this, if you believe in a spiritual connection, there's this, we always have
Yeah.
this relationship. And I know for me, when I have felt most alone, and I couldn't find the relational place to plug in
Mhm.
temporarily. I just went
Mhm.
up. I went up and
Mhm.
out. And
Mhm.
that did a thing to my nervous system that then kind of created enough space to then
Mhm.
kind of find the right people.
Mhm.
And um, there was another point I was going to make, and I'm really sad that I lost it because as you were talking, things drop in. But that
Yes.
the something about the relationship. Have you read Mia Birdsong's book, How We Show Up?
No, I need to add it to my list. I'm going to write
I
that
think you
down.
would love it, and I think the people listening would probably love it. It's all about community and redefining
Yes.
that. And I know for me, it has been when I stopped think that this is probably the direction I wanted to go. When I stopped thinking about reaching for support and connection as something that was just for me
Mhm.
and
Oh.
started seeing it as a form of activism,
Mm.
it changed things for me. And
Yeah.
also, when I had enough people come to me, when I was brave enough to say, I need help or I need support, when
Yes.
they thanked me for it, it blew my mind. And I've had this happen multiple times.
Yeah.
And I thought, wouldn't it be cool if I didn't have to be in crisis to get to that point of receivership? And then
Mhm.
people could feel important on purpose for me. And I don't
Mhm.
hoard all of the like giving all of
Yeah.
the purpose in a relational dynamic. That was really a game changer for me on my path. And knowing that every time I allow interdependence, I'm challenging the core values of systems of oppression
Ah, yes. Yes.
because they can't
Yes.
thrive when people are together in their humanity and
That's
care.
right.
It
That's right.
just so for anyone listening, I think it's important. Like, yes, it's scary. Yes, it's awkward. Yes, there's shame we got to overcome, but also I mean, that's a deep form of leadership to choose
Yes.
to be in real community.
And I think that we all have a need to be needed in some way.
Yes.
And so you're actually, and this is something that I have learned that, and I still struggle with asking. Like it is something that I still struggle with.
Same.
Yeah. And so one of the things I do keep in mind is exactly what you said, is that people are waiting to support you, and that when I ask, I'm giving a gift to those around me who I've been supporting, or who, that they want to like reciprocate. And so my sister is actually one of those people. I'm the oldest child, and oftentimes my sisters come to me. And so my middle sister moved back to Atlanta a year and a half or so, some change ago. And while from a capacity standpoint, I'm the person that mostly is the support. When I ask her if she can say like keep my son, keep her nephew, she and when especially when I travel like overnight, she jumps at the chance. And or if I need to her to pick him up or something, she jumps at that chance. And I used to have such a hard time asking because I didn't want her to think, well, I don't want you to think I'm taking advantage of you because now you're here. And but she loves it. And so it's like realizing how much of a gift you're giving when you ask for support in whatever way that is. And also to your point around we're not alone, I think also um, our ancestors are always with us.
Yeah.
And to remember that as well as however you envision ancestry.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then I think one other thing that came to mind as you were talking is that there are some people who are like, well, I like being alone.
I do like being alone, but not existentially.
Right, right. Not existentially, but like sometimes people who like being alone need to realize that we have to do sometimes more work to be in community and be willing to put ourselves intentionally in community. Because when we do, we realize, and I really am speaking about myself, y'all, as I'm speaking to y'all. When we do, like, how many times that people are like, oh, the crew is getting together for dinner, and I'll say yes, and then like all the things to talk myself out of it. But when I'm in the community, I realize how much I'm poured into, and I leave full. So for those people who are like, oh, I don't have a problem being by myself or being isolated, just know that doing the work and being intentional about being in community is where the healing is.
Yeah. And I'll name this from my journey because I think there are probably similar to you people who this will speak to. I
Mm-hmm.
identify as an introvert. I
Yes.
get recharged by myself
Same.
and I need I need people
Mm-hmm.
to get sort of collect the information that I need to keep fueled.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's protective is what I've realized that being alone and resisting community sometimes was old protection. Because
Mm-hmm.
as a child, I think I learned I am safest when I'm in control of my own inner environment.
That's right.
And so there's a difference between protective aloneness
Mm-hmm.
and recharged introvert.
Right. Right.
And for me, I couldn't tell the difference for a while. I was not aware of that more protective layer of like, I don't have to deal with y'all's chaos if I'm by
Mm-hmm.
myself, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that was the source of a lot of my resistance to going out, putting myself in
Mm-hmm.
new situations. Was like, I don't know what the energy going to be like. Am I going to have to deal with some, you know?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Uh,
I love that you named that.
yeah, I just think that's part of why I value conversations like this is
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you are very fancy pants, educated, like you've done a ton of work, you've got credentials, and you are still walking the path.
Mm-hmm.
And I am too. And that to me is the type of model of leadership I want to stand for and use my
Mm-hmm.
platform for.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
Thank you.
yeah, we're fabulous, fancy women in many ways. And still doing the work and unpacking and healing and finding ourselves and loving up on different patterns and pieces. And that's just the way of it.
Yeah. I think it's so important for leaders who are listening to this because as you talk about leadership, these forms of leadership, I think it's important to recognize that all of this stuff that we're talking about, it sounds like very personal, but this is the kind of stuff that shows up in boardrooms
Absolutely.
and meetings and clinics and executive C-suite, teams. This is the kind of stuff that shows up that's invisible to ourselves, but loud to everyone else. And when I say, if you think that this stuff is not showing up, this is where I believe organizations and leaders need to begin to allow space for different kinds of conversation around healing. Like healing belongs in the workplace. I say emotions belong in the workplace, but healing conversations belong in the workplace because that's actually the way I believe that we will transform organizations in the way that they thrive, you know?
Absolutely. And the ripple effect. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think for a long time, we have been performing leadership
Mm-hmm.
and leaving a trail of harm
Mm-hmm.
because we weren't embodying it. We weren't aware of our true impact. And I say we as just like the
Yeah,
collective,
the global we.
cultural
Mm-hmm.
we.
Absolutely.
And we are entering a phase of history where that's just not going to work anymore. We're
Mm-hmm.
creating cultures. We're
Mm-hmm.
not performing control.
Mm-hmm.
And it's requiring people to look at different skill sets and look at different forms of impact and those more invisible contributions that we
Yeah.
are. So I really appreciate you naming that.
Yeah.
Aisha, we could talk forever, but I'm aware of your time and I value your time. So I want to ask, well, I didn't get it. Nope, I'm going to do it. Okay. I have to read your incarnation cross because I went in a rabbit hole about your human design, but now that we've had this conversation and now
Mm-hmm.
that listeners know kind of what you're up to, I want to share this one paragraph about sort of the incarnation cross is the like soul curriculum we're here to live. It's our hero or heroine's journey, so to speak.
Okay.
And this is from Karen Curry Parker's work. I want to really name where it comes from. So
Mm-hmm.
yours is called the left angle cross of endeavor. They have weird names. That doesn't matter. Okay. And the description is to lead, teach, and inspire others to cultivate a practice of self regulation that allows them to be inspired to follow new flows of abundance and inspiration to create a depth of knowledge and wisdom from studying and learning that helps others manifest their dreams and do the work necessary to build new pathways of abundance, to model and teach the importance of patterns and habits that allow for conserving energy and creating sustainable wealth and well being, to initiate others into healthy habits that help them create greater abundance and have access to more resources. You
Wow.
can't make this shit up. This is
Wow.
human design. Like, think about all your journey that you've had, all
Yes.
these depths of knowledge and,
Oh
you
my
know,
God.
sustainability and scarcity. And it's
Yes.
all right here. You've been living your story so beautifully and serving from that place.
Wow. That is dope. That is like, I was like, damn, that's on point.
That's why I do what I do.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Would you
Yeah.
send me that
Yeah, I'll send you I'll take a picture and send it to you.
picture?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. That is pretty cool. Pretty
Yeah, I
cool.
think it's really beautiful because a lot of times human design, it's not telling us what we should do.
Mm-hmm.
It's reflecting what we know to be true in our
Mm-hmm.
core. And
Mm-hmm.
that, given that it's not self-assessed, given that it's just from your birth information, there's this like wonder. And to me, it feels like a magical kind of reflection. Like you can't
Mm-hmm.
make that up.
I know.
And so there's something in it that gets beneath the conscious filters, I think, because it
Mhm.
feels, well, you can't explain it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man. I gotta pull back out my entire human design.
We'll have a virtual coffee. And I mean,
Yeah.
I did a lot of digging, so I'm happy to share what I found with you when I sat with it this morning because
Oh,
I adore you and want to support you in all the ways. And it's one of my love languages at
oh my
present.
gosh. Well, when we have our girl time in the cabin, we can talk about it then. How about that?
Totally. Well, the last thing I want to ask before we close is because all of your information will be included in the show notes. So
Mhm.
connect with Maiysha, listen to her podcast, all the things that will be in the show notes. But I like to give guests an opportunity to speak their imaginal wish for the world. And
Hmm.
it's whatever wants to come through, but I'm imagining a world dot 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 and just see
Yeah.
what wants to come because this is sort of like casting a spell, you know?
Yes, yes. Um, I imagine a world in which we really see each other. We see like On the street, you're walking down the street and you look at someone and you just see them and you connect with them and they don't look like you, but you see their heart or you see their struggle, and we connect on a level that is beyond what the physical shows us. I imagine a world where systems connect in that way. People inside of organizations, clients are serving that way, leaders are with their people that way. And that allows for it allows for the equity that we've been missing to show up. It allows for liberation. Like we finally really get that our freedoms are tied, are intertwined, and that allows us to come together and just be with each other.
Mm. Breach. I got chills. That you just took us all to a little baby church of new paradigm existence and community ship. So thank you for that. Thank you for being just an incredible human doing deeply healing, beautiful work in the world. I'm grateful to know and love you and continue to evolve with you, and so excited to share you with my people.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, for sharing me with your people, and just for seeing me in those moments in the chair in our first TEDx workshop, and for everything that we are to become together.
Thank you.